This video is on law of sines and cosines. I'm going to do an example of using law of sines, law of cosines, or both. So again, law of sines is when you have one side and its opposite angle, and you would use this proportion. You only need to use two proportions depending on which ones you have and which ones you need. Law of cosines is used when you do not have a side and its opposite angle. So these examples say find all missing parts. We're going to round to the nearest tenth when necessary. So on this problem, we have big B, we have big A, and we have little b. So we're missing little a, little c, and big C. Now what I like to do to make sure I keep things nice and organized is I like to put this into a chart using the angles and the sides. So I'm going to make a table for my values. I'm just going to put this underneath the problem. I'm going to split it in half for sides and angles. I'm going to have 3 rows because I have A, B, and C. Now on the left-hand side, I'm going to put the angles. So I'm going to have big A, big B, and big C. So therefore, on the right-hand side, I'm going to have little a, little b, and little c. Now I'm just going to fill in the chart with the information I already have in black. So I have big A is 48 degrees, so I can put that inside of here, 48 degrees. I also have big B is 93 degrees. And I am not given angle C, but I can go ahead and find that, and I'll do that in just a second. So I also have, if I look on the triangle, I have 15, which is opposite of big B, so 15 is little b. So I can put 15 in the little b. Now, I want to go ahead and fill out anything that I can find, which I have 2 angles. I can find the third, because I know that all angles in a triangle will add up to 180. So I know that 48 and 93 plus angle C will give me 180. That means that angle C will have to be 39 degrees. So I'm going to put that in pink, because I can figure that out. I need to find it. That's one of the missing pieces. But I did not have to use law of sines or cosines to find this. Now, we need to determine which one we have to use, either law of sines or cosines. So again, coming back up to here, do we have one side and its opposite angle? So if you notice, we have on this chart, we have a number in both big B and little b. That's the side and its opposite angle. If we have in the chart a number, the entire row filled in, we can use law of sines. So that's what we're going to do, law of sines. LOS for short. Now I need to use the sine, law of sines, using this setup because I know these are correct. I'm not using any rounded numbers because I've already been given this information. So I'm going to use sine of the angle is 93 degrees. I'm going to divide it by the length of the side, which was 15, equals. So again, law of sines goes to this equation. I set up the first one, and now I want to have just one of these. It doesn't matter which one I use. So I'm technically using sine of big B, and I can have it equal to sine of A or sine of C. So I'm going to go ahead and find A, because that's the top one. Just going to go ahead and find that one. So I'll have is equal to sine of the angle A is 48 degrees divided by, I'm going to solve for little a. Now I'm just going to cross multiply and solve. So in order to do this, I would cross multiply, I would get A times sine of 93 is equal to 15 times sine of 48. Now what's really important is that you do not multiply the 15 and the 48, because that 48 is the degree and it has to stay as 48 degrees. So I'm just going to attach whatever I multiplied to the outside of it. Now I still need to solve for A. So in order to solve for A, I need to get everything away from A, which attached to A is the entire sine of 93. So I need to divide by the sine of 93 on both sides. Not just 93, but the sine of 93. So in my calculator, and we will use your calculator for this, I'm going to have A will be equal to, if I type this in, I'm going to have 15 sine of 48, close my parentheses, and I'm going to divide that by sine of 93. Now I can just type that in my calculator. So I'm going to turn my calculator on. I'm just going to type this in. Now this should give us a side length. Since we're using sine and cosine, I do need to check what mode my calculator is in. So I'm going to go to mode. And right now it is in radian mode. I need it in degree mode since we're dealing with 48 and 93 degrees. I go down to degree, click enter on it. Now it's in degree mode. So I can get out of this by doing second mode. Now I can type this in as I see it. So I have 15 sine 48. I do need to close my parentheses. Divided by sine of 93. I'm going to close my parentheses. Then I'm going to press enter. We're going to round this to the nearest tenth. So little a is approximately 11 2/10. Little a is approximately 11 2/10. So I can put little a as 11 2/10. So now I have little a, so I need to find little c. I could use Pythagorean theorem, however, this is not a right triangle, so I can't actually use Pythagorean theorem because it's not a right triangle. So now I need to use law of sines again to be able to find sine of c over little c. You could potentially use sine of 48 over 11 2/10 to set up your proportion. However, this could always be wrong. If you end up messing this up and you use a rounded answer, your answer is going to be even more rounded. The information that you are already given is the information you should continue to use. That means that for my proportion, for my next law of sines, I'm going to still use sine of 93 over 15. That's my first fraction I'm going to use. So sine of 93 over 15 is equal. Now I'm going to find for the big C and little c. So sine of our big C is 39 divided by little c. So again, we're going to cross multiply, and then I'll end up dividing by sine of 93. So I'll have C sine of 93 is equal to 15 sine of 39. Again, I'm not multiplying any of the numbers themselves. And so now we got to get C by itself, so we're going to divide by sine of 93. So in my calculator, we'll have little c equals, we're going to divide by sine of 93, so this will be our numerator, 15 sine of 39 divided by sine of 93. So these two equations are almost identical, it's just the angle has been changed. So if we go into our calculator, this is still in degree mode because I did not clear my calculator. I'm going to type in 15 sine of 39, close parentheses, divided by sine of 93, close my parentheses. I'll press enter. I'll get 9 5/10, or 9.5. So C is approximately 9.5. Now, what is imperative that you do is to check that this actually creates a triangle. We know that the smallest angle should be across from the smallest side, the biggest angle should be across from the biggest side, and the medium angle should be across from the medium side. So if we look at our angles, our smallest angle is a 39 degrees. This is your smallest angle. If we look at our sides, little c is our smallest side. So far we're good. Small and small are together. So let's look for our largest. So from these two, 93 is the largest. So this is your largest. And then from the sides, 15 is your largest side. That tells us that this did create the correct triangle because our smallest angle is across from the smallest side. Our largest angle is across from the largest side. We used law of sines twice to be able to figure out our measurements because we had an angle and its opposite side. If we have these two matching, we can go straight into law of sines. If we did not have that, we would have had to have used law of cosines.